in 2017. We had gotten a lot of attention at Shaya. We won Best New Restaurant in the country with James Beard Awards. We were winning all these different things, and I really saw that people were paying attention to who I was being true to myself, and that meant a lot to me, because my whole life kind of was dealing with this identity crisis of born in Israel, growing up in America, not
dabbling
not
in
quite,
Italian.
yeah, dabbling in Italian, falling in love with the South, not quite knowing. That's why when you asked if I was a transplant or a native, my whole life has been a transplant of not only just of where I've been, but just what I feel I've gone through. And so we started Pomegranate Hospitality, my wife Emily and I, in 2017 to put values at the forefront of how we run a business. We had seen some really crazy stuff leading up to the opening of Pomegranate, and we knew that was not the kind of life or the kind of people that we wanted to spend our time with or even be around or even pay attention to. And so we started this new company with a very clear mission, and we brought on a lot of our team members from people that I worked with at Shaya. Zach Engel, who was our director of culinary operations, Kara Peterson, who is currently the chef at Saba in New Orleans. Zach's going on to open his own restaurant in Chicago called Galit in March, so you all have to look out for that, because he's an amazing chef. He's going to crush it.
And we're traveler stoners, so we'll eat
Sweet.
just about anywhere across the country.
So we brought on our team. We got Saba open. It's been doing great ever since. And the team that's there is really crushing it. We work every day to pay attention to our value system of communication, empowerment, equality, organization, respect, education. You can see there's a group of people learning how to make hot sauce over there right now. So every week at the restaurants, we have a lunch and learn where somebody from the team, it can be anybody, teaches the rest of the team something that they're passionate about. So if you were a cook here, you could bring the whole team together and teach them about doing a podcast or radio broadcasting, and everyone would know more about you. They would have more respect for what you stand for and what you do. They would learn something, and they would feel empowered to then teach people something that they know. And so our entire company is built off of these values that dictate every decision that we make. And our team is first, and our food and beverage and customers come behind that. And that's changed the way that we have lived our lives and have thought about our future. And it's been a blessing. It's been amazing.
Well, that's incredible, because that's the one thing I miss. I haven't worked in the restaurants for going on 4 or 5 years. And one of the things that I miss is that sense of family that, some of them do them well, some of them don't. And I think it sounds like your group really focuses on that kind of aspect. We're here to help each other. And, if I learn more about you,
For sure.
hear more about you.
For sure. Yeah. It's easy to say that that's the kind of place that you want to work.
Right.
But if the structure isn't in place to make sure that those things are available to people, you lose it. So our scheduled lunch and learns gives everyone a platform that's scheduled. It's not I want to learn more about you, but maybe I'll tell you, maybe I won't, maybe we'll talk about it after work one day, maybe you'll mention it to me on the line. Here it's this is a stage, and every week, every Wednesday from 4 to 5 or 3:30 to 4:30, they're there learning something about each other.
That's incredible.
And you kind of have instilled that as well, in the time off program. Because, I remember when you were opening this, and I remember what you did in New Orleans, that everybody that worked for you, they enjoyed going to work. Whereas, maybe Chris and I aren't we're not as stoked to go to our day jobs as the next bear. But at the same time, folks are, they're excited to be here. They feel like it's an honor to be here. You reward folks properly. And then it's not you're having to pull teeth to find someone to fill a shift, you reward your staff with, there's a weekend for you. You'll have Monday and Tuesday off because you recognize the need for being with your family. So you've brought these principles in that obviously may not have been across the board and even across the industry. It's been gapped, and so you've brought, you've seen across a plethora of different locations where what works and what doesn't. And that whether it be from menu to how to run a business, you've been able to kind of facilitate that.
Our team has been able to do that, and you've made it sound really, really wonderful and flowery and beautiful. But I'll tell you, it's hard. It's so hard to do all of those things that you just said, and we work really hard on it every single day. So we try to empower people. We work hard on providing that work-life balance. We have to exercise communication and organization every day. It doesn't just all fall into place. We hired a people and culture director. Her name is Susie Dare. And
shout out Susie.
Shout out to Susie. And here in Denver, so Susie's based in New Orleans, and here in Denver, we have a people and culture associate, and her name is Caroline Gray.
Shout out
she's right
Caroline.
there.
Hey, Caroline.
So,
Caroline, I've got a degree in cross-cultural psychology. Watch out. Coming. I'm just kidding.
He's going for your job. So Caroline and Susie spend all day long doing nothing but thinking about the team and thinking about and putting the pieces in place to make sure that we can do all those things that you just said.
So kind of this idea, it sounds, a lot of people talk about the South as being really community-oriented, and, your time there after Katrina, is that what kind of instilled this sense of community in you? And then on that note, too, after you went to Israel and kind of learned your kind of roots and things like that, what gave you the courage to, because Southerners love certain things,
and they're very staunch in their ways.
In New Orleans,
there's only 3 po' boys you're allowed to have.
Right.
Right. There's only certain places you can have an oyster. If folks go to Acme, it's like, go fuck yourself. That's a chain. It's,
Right.
So do you think the fact that you were in that fabric from helping out with the Katrina and things of that nature, did that give you that kind of...
Look, it's not like one day I said to myself, I feel like I have the courage to do this. I work off of when I will take the it's hard for me to explain because so much of my life has been no other options. It's you don't have a choice. If you want to be successful or make go into a career, you need to cook. That's all you're going to be able to do. Don't try to be a doctor. Don't even think about flying an airplane.
Her dad's sister.
That's you're going to cook. Mics. And after Katrina, it was you're going to help. You're going to be a part of this city, and you're going to see it come back to life, and you're going to do all you can to help that along. And it wasn't a question for me. It wasn't should I help out? Of course I thought immediately after the storm, oh my God, can I go back to New Orleans? Is there a place for me there? What would I do? And then I came 3 days after the storm when the convention center was still clearing
the levees
out.
Had broken and everybody was still in the Superdome. There was no power anywhere. it was a fucking madhouse.
We had come right after the convention center and the Superdome were evacuated, and there were the city was destroyed, and we started cooking red beans and rice for people, and that feeling of handing someone a plate of hot food after they've either been rescued off of their roof or rescued somebody off of their roof. That feeling brought me to tears. That was the feeling that made me say to myself, this is what I need to be doing. And then after that, there was no question about it. And when it came time to know that for me it was time to cook Israeli food, there was no question. It wasn't a question of should I do this? It was a question of I'm going to do it. What's the right way to do it? What's the best way to do it? And I just went forward. After I lost Shaya and Dominica and Pizza Dominica, which wasn't that long ago, a year and a half ago, not even, there was no question about what I was going to do. And, thank God for my wife, Emily, who was right there by my side to do all this with. There was no question. We need a company that is based off of something greater than earning $1 or cooking something tasty. Like, that doesn't matter. Yes, it matters that the food's good. Yes, it matters that you're making money. But that's not going to be what we're going to put our priority towards. And that's just changed everything for us. So it was never a question. It was never something that we had to consider whether or not it was the right thing to do or not.
And, I feel like, and to follow up on Chris's and your point here with what you and Emily have done, that's one of the reasons you were nodded as one of the 50 people that have changed the South. Because not only did you've created a new culture, you've stood for what you believe in and what you and your wife believe in, and you've backed it wholeheartedly from, the beliefs in the food to what you put on the table to how you treat your staff and your team.
Yeah.
But you're also one of the most influential, Jewish folks in America. Half of our team is Jewish, and we're like, "Oh, you're going to meet him? Can we come? Can we? We want to taste all his food." And I was like, it's gonna be Chris and I, the Stone Appetit King. But you've proven it. You've proven it through not only but verbiage, but through actions. That's one thing that it speaks a lot louder than words. Is actions. And so it speaks volumes as to what you've done for New Orleans. So not only that, but, we're going to kind of transition. But before we leave New Orleans, I want to kind of pick his brain because as most of our listeners and our friends know, we spent a lot of time growing up in New Orleans, originally from Baton Rouge, lived there for a short while. God damn that one Mardi Gras that made me leave. But
I think we've all had Mardi Gras.
Yes, indeed.
So we usually do some segments that we're going to dive into those, and they're Colorado-based things. But before we move into the Colorado theme, I'd love to pick the brain of some NOLA. We're going to do the same style NOLA. What's your favorite happy hour in New Orleans?
Man, favorite happy hour in New Orleans, I'm going to say... God, I'm always working during happy hour.
That's understandable.
But
if you're
you could do what? Is it quarter martinis over at Commander's, or is it $1 or whatever the hell it is? You could go to the Rusty Nail for an electric lemonade. You could go to Lafitte's. Sorry, I get all excited. Just
sick one day, and you've got happy hour.
Let's
all
pretend
yourself.
like you faked sick. It's pregame for the Saints. Where are we going?
I don't think Bacchanal has a happy hour, because if they did, I'd have known about it.
Down in the Marinade, you could go to like the country club if you're really trying to get rowdy and party. But
right.
What are we doing? Let's say pregame Saints.
Here's my favorite happy hour has always been the places that do like 25-cent oysters.
Superior Seafood.
Superior Seafood, margaritas, and 25-cent oysters. That...
Fuck the Blind Pelican, but maybe something like Superior that has the 50 cent with the frozen 2-for-1s.
I would say that's a good move.
I miss oysters.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get home this week and just I'll be at the oyster bar.
Yeah,
4 or 5 times.
All right. So one other question we often have, and we'll let Chris lead this segment for the Colorado base. We oftentimes ask, what's the best date night spot? If you and Emily were about to have a drink and supper somewhere around New Orleans, where are we headed?
Bayona in the French Quarter, classic, beautiful place. We love walking around the French Quarter and just going from one place to another with a drink in our hands. And it's just, even after all these years of living there, it's still so romantic. And I think Bayona is one of those places that you just can't make up.
I like it. And then we usually ask, what's the best meal you've had in the last 6 months? But we're going to keep it specific to New Orleans. But I'm going to switch it up. What's the best po' boy? Are you a Dom Elise's? Are you Park?
Okay, so I'm Dom Elise's.
Yeah!
Which for the fried oyster po' boy.
Shout out Gene.
And you can also do fried oyster and roast beef together, which is ridiculously good. I like Parkway for their shrimp. I think their shrimp po' boy is really good. So those are kind of my two spots.
All right. And so I would go Domalisi's for the shrimp and then switch to roast beef at Parkway because it gets a little sloppy. But they also have that surf and turf. We could do this all day, but we are a Colorado. I know we are a Colorado-based podcast, so I won't get stuck on Nolans. Chris, I'm gonna let you do the good old-fashioned segue.
Well, yeah. So first of all, though, too.